I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Amy, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Engel?
Here.
Mr. Yoshimura?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone received a copy of the meeting minutes from the special meeting on May 21st. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any additions or questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0. Now, we also received a copy of the meeting minutes for our regular meeting on May 21st. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0. At this time, we'll have Dustin Gearing come up for our spring sports.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, we had our middle school sports recognized at our previous meeting. However, White Oak that evening had their 8th grade recognition. So in an effort to make sure that they got to come here, we extended this meeting for them. I'd like to bring up front Mr. Sean Ryan, the AD for White Oak Middle School. Come on up.
I'm actually going to pass the microphone over to our coaches, Coach Lindley and Coach Caraher. Myself is also a coach, but they were more of our sprinting coaches, which is who we're recognizing tonight. So, Ms. Caraher.
Thank you. We have 2 of our athletes here tonight, 3 of them that placed at GMCs, and I just want to take a minute to talk about them and their accomplishments. The 2 standing here tonight, all 3 of them, in fact, display. They play, every sport they play has a bunch of integrity. They're leaders in the school. They're tremendous athletes. They display great sportsmanship. It's always an honor to go anywhere with them. It's a pleasure to have them not only represent White Oak, but the district as well. They're the first ones to go shake everybody's hands. They're just fantastic to work with. So the first one I'm going to talk about is actually not here, but Diamond Martin. She placed 3rd in the 100-meter dash and 2nd in the 200-meter dash at GMCs. And then Mark Conyers had a 2nd place in the long jump at GMCs. And Azaria Bryant had 1st place in the 100-meter dash, 1st place in the 200-meter dash, and 1st place in the 400-meter dash, which has never been done at White Oak before. So that's a great accomplishment. So do you have anything else? It's just been an honor to work with them, and I can't wait to see what they do in the future.
real quick, Mark and Azaria, can I have you introduce who you came with tonight? Okay. Congratulations. Great job. Awesome job. Congratulations. Thanks so much. Great job. Thank you. Congratulations.
Just for a moment, the board would like to address anything else with them.
I just want to take a minute to congratulate all three of our athletes, and it's nice that two of you were able to make it. And again, always like to recognize the parents, because it takes a lot for everything you have to do, getting them to and from practice, and probably hold off on dinners, especially track meets that last forever. So we're glad you were all able to make it tonight, and wish you the best of luck. I think we'll probably be seeing you back here next year as well.
I would like to congratulate the coaches and the AD. You guys put out a lot of time for these kids.
All right, at this time, I'll have all family, friends, and coaches meet me out in the front lobby. We'll go take some pictures. This is your exit, by the way, so make sure you bring your things with you.
Unless you just want to come back and hang out with us. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, we do not have a legislative update. They are on break. So Jim, Butler Tech?
Just one thing, we're getting close to finishing up out at the LaSwordsville Lake that we're doing out there for our adult education, rehabbing the whole thing, and I just wanted to see, to have one of our board meetings out there, what a good date would be if we can get it on the calendar, or...
So like we've done in the past,
Yes.
one date in the fall, we
Yeah.
pick a Butler Tech site to have
Yeah.
the meeting,
And
and
I
that's
figured,
the
well,
site.
let's go to the new
Sure.
one, we just rehabbing the adult ed, and...
I'll see what works for them best, and then I'll come back to you guys with dates.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you. Okay, we have special report on all-day kindergarten pilot.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to introduce Jenny Blest, our Director of Curriculum Services. She will share information and achievement results from all-day kindergarten pilot during 2017-2018 school year. So, as everyone knows, we are moving to all-day kindergarten next year, and so we needed a pilot in place to pick curriculum, supplies, talk about how much increased time we could get with language arts and math, and Jenny's got a report on that.
I went ahead and put it up there so that people in the audience could see it, but you all have a copy in front of you of the data. So during the, as Todd said, that during the 17-18 school year, the Northwest Local School District implemented an all-day kindergarten pilot at 3 of our elementary schools. Taylor, Welsh, and Montfort Heights were selected for the pilot. And the purpose of the pilot was to work through the logistics of all-day kindergarten and to identify best practices for 2018 and 19. It also gave us the opportunity to examine reading and math data for all-day versus half-day kindergarten students in our district. An examination of this data allows us to make sure that the funds that we're allocating for all-day kindergarten are making a difference in achievement for our students. For many, many years, we've heard our teachers and our parents say that our children are at a disadvantage because they're not, you know, they don't have a full day of kindergarten. You guys made the commitment to provide all-day kindergarten, so we want to make sure that we're using that time effectively and that we are raising the achievement for our students. This was a perfect opportunity for us to have 2 groups of students, all day, half day, and just really look at that data. So we used that opportunity this year. So in front of you, you have the data from our MAP testing, which is our measures, or actually it's MPG for kindergartens through NWEA, and we give that assessment 3 times a year, and from that data we get something called a RIT score, which is just, it's kind of a universal measure for that test. If a child takes that test in kindergarten, they get a RIT score. If they take it in 10th grade, they get a RIT score, and we can compare growth. It's a really nice measure of growth for our students. But we can also measure achievement because we can look at, they do give us percentiles, national percentiles. So if you take a look at the data, some key points that I wanted to share with you is that we had 72 slots allocated for all-day kindergarten. That was 24 at each of our 24 spots at each of our slots. We did our best to keep those filled during the year. So if students moved out, we moved a student in to make sure that we were utilizing those spots. 69 students had beginning and ending data that we could use to compare. So we only used use the data of the students who were there all year. So taking a look at the math data, which is at the top, if you look at that, the average percentile for the NWEA norm is the 50th percentile. You can see that our all-day students started at that average percentile, so they were at 50.7, right? Our half-day students as a whole were below that at 41.7. By the end of the year, our half-day students did show growth, right? However, they were still below the national norm, or the NWEA norm, at the 47th percentile. So, looking at that, yes, they made a year's growth, but it still put them below the norm, which is not where we want our students to be, because we need to make that catch-up growth. By the end of the year, our all-day students showed tremendous growth. They were at the 64.4th percentile, which meant that they gained 13.7 percentile points. So we were really, really excited about that. When we talked with our teachers, what caused that? We didn't change our program. We were doing the same math program. On average, they said, our pilot teacher said that in a half-day program, they were lucky to get 15 to 20 minutes of math a day. With the all-day program, they were spending more than 60 minutes a day in math, focused on math. So it was tremendous growth that we saw. In reading, you can see that our half-day students gained 1.9 percentile points. Our all-day kindergarten students gained 12.6 percentile points, which, if you look at the change in the percentiles, 12.6 is quite a bit. I mean, that's a lot. We ended up in the spring with an average percentile in all day of 67.4, which is well above the national, or the NWEA norm. In language arts, you say, wow, what did you do? We actually implemented our new reading program that you approved last year. So we had two things going on. We had all-day kindergarten, plus we had the Reach for Reading program. We're really excited about both of those things because we think that this data tells us that we're on the right track and that we are going to be able to make a lot of strong growth with our kindergarten students, which will then hopefully help them as they move forward. In April, we met with our pilot teachers and our next year's kindergarten teachers, because remember, we have probably 12 extra kindergarten teachers coming in for all day, so a lot of teachers are going to be teaching all day for the very first time. So we met with them to share this data, to talk about what this data means to our needs, and a lot of the lessons learned from our pilot, including how much time they were spending in language arts. We revised some things, we shared those lessons learned, and we're looking forward to implementing all-day kindergarten in all 5 of our elementaries next year. Right now, we currently, actually this was last Tuesday's data, so as of last Tuesday, we had 337 students enrolled in kindergarten. We're projected to have 611, so if you talk to our enrollment center, that's good for right now. We're doing pretty well with getting our kindergartners enrolled. And I'm pleased to say that we are required to offer a half-day option for our students. Of those 337 students, only 9 students so far have opted for a half-day option.
How will we do that?
Good question. We actually will have, at the 5 schools, we will have a kindergarten section, depending on how many, if there's not too many in each school, we will have a section of kindergarten that's identified as making sure that all of their language arts and math is scheduled in that morning period. We've actually extended that morning period to a 3-hour period, so half day will be 3 hours. Extending it a little, because right now it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes for our kindergarten classes. So we'll put specials in the afternoon, we'll put a lot of the intervention and enrichment kinds of things in the afternoon in that one class. We don't want to tie all our teachers to that.
but we'll try to make sure that is there, and we'll make sure that that 3 hours that they're there is spent on the academics and the 4 subject areas. It's not, they can always move on to full day. You know, we will always offer them that option that even if they decide to go into half day, if they want to move to full day later on, we'll make sure we offer that.
How much extra time did the all-day get on language arts versus the half-day?
I would say that they probably doubled it. Being able to do that. Now, you have to remember that when you go in that first couple months is a transition period. The teacher said that they went in full hog, ready to go. You know, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get, and then they realized that they were dealing with 5-year-olds, sometimes 4-year-olds, who hasn't turned 5 yet, and that you really have to be developmentally appropriate and make sure that you offer breaks and the afternoons are tough, but they, you know, now they said they don't even know that, you know, not what they've always done.
To that point exactly, a 5-year-old would have a delta of 12 to 13% swing for a 5-year-old, I think is substantial.
And you have to remember that's an average. So those kids, we had some kids that just showed, I mean, incredible growth.
Before we started this, were there benchmarks that you thought we would see? Would it have been that 12, 13%, or do we have any idea, or we'll just do it and see?
I think this is kind of hard to see what we thought we'd see.
So the expected percentile gain is 0 on this particular assessment, because that means you're staying at the same place. And so the average WIT down in that third bar shows the amount of WIT gain that across the country, half day, full day, kindergarten students make, millions of kids in that sample. So we expected, kindergarten has traditionally for the last 3 or 4 years really not made even close to expected growth. So the fact that both half day and full day made that is exceptional and unexpected for half day for us. But we're really pleased to see that so far above, both in terms of national percentile and WIT, what the national norm is. Because like I said, that national norm includes all types of kindergarten programs across our country, many of which are still half day. So it's a really good sign for us.
You know, we looked at mid-year data also, because when we worked with our pilot teachers, we were looking at mid-year data. And I'll be honest with you, our reading data mid-year was not that good. I mean, it was okay. It was better than it had been in the past, but it was not that good, which was very exciting to me because normally we see a lot of growth at the very beginning, and then the growth slows toward the end of the year with all the chaos. And this year was even more chaotic than normal. So to see that kind of growth at the end of the year, I think is really promising.
Mid-year half-day kindergarten and reading was actually negative. They were actually going backwards in percentiles. So to see them rebound like this, not nearly as substantial as all day, but it's pretty exciting to see with our new reading series and having that full day.
And just having that full day to implement, there's so many resources in that program, Reach for Reading, to have the all day to implement that.
We're really able to beef up their writing as well as have more time for small group instruction, which are both parts of the series, but in half day that was difficult to do with the new program. But in full day they could spend 3 hours or more on language arts, which really is a great thing for a 5-year-old or 6-year-old. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll all be in air conditioning, so people are getting it too hot.
And you know what? There was something to be said for that because it was hot at Taylor. It was really hot.
Great job. Okay, we'll move on to reports from employee organization. Anything for certificate or license? Classified? Any reports from school-related organizations? I have not received any requests for community comments, so we'll move right into certificate and licensed personnel.
Yes, first item is a certificate licensed personnel item, certified retirements resignations. This
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding certified retirements and resignations?
I have one question. Do we exit interview the resident, or anybody that separates from the district? Do we have exit interviews and do we get reports on them?
We haven't done reports in the past. We have been trying to revise the exit survey that we did, so we are trying to gather some of that data now. We don't have anything yet. We are working on it.
Anybody else? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel item, classified retirements and resignations. The Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding classified retirements and resignations? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a fiscal item, accept and appropriate federal and state grants. The Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve to accept and appropriate federal and state grants as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? This was not procedure. Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is a fiscal item, duty fund. Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the new fund as listed. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions regarding the new fund? Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is a then and now certificate over $3,000. Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the payment over $3,000 requiring a then and now certificate as well. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions regarding the then and now certificate? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is a general business item, vendor contracts. The Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions regarding vendor contracts? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is certificated licensed personnel item. This item you will see one reduction in force is removing the title of lead teacher from one employee. This teacher will be retained as a special education teacher, so it's just that title. So I wanted you to be aware of that. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel items. The Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments regarding classified personnel? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is curriculum and instruction. This extended out-of-state field trip. The Colerain High School Music Department is requesting permission to take 150 students to New York City March 27th, 2019, March 31st, 2019. 2 school days will be missed, and the students will be expected to make up the work. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the extended out-of-state field trip. So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions? I just real quick want to say, I think this is such a neat opportunity. I had the opportunity quite a few years ago to go with 100 music students from Colerain to New York City. And what the kids got to experience, minus a very long bus ride, but it was really, really neat. And I don't know. Kids can sleep in all kinds of positions that adults can't. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is revised middle school fees. It was brought to you for information at our last Board of Education meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the revised middle school fees as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions regarding the revised middle school fees? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is the 2018-2019 curriculum handbooks. The 2018-19 handbooks were presented as information at the last board meeting. It's time for action. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2018-2019 curriculum handbooks as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Are there any questions regarding the curriculum and books? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is student services, 2018-2019 student services handbook, presented as information at the last board meeting. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2018-2019 student services handbooks as listed.
So moved.
Second. Moved in second. Questions regarding student services handbooks? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is a certificated licensed personnel adjustments to current administrative job description. This is not new administrative jobs. This is maneuvering in our department, putting people in different positions and making sure all duties and responsibilities are covered. This is for information. If you have any questions, please call me and we'll come for action at the next meeting. Next item is a miscellaneous item. I want to talk to you about a change in our 2018 board meeting calendar. I would like to recommend canceling and moving the June 18th meeting and the August 20th meeting and rescheduling at a later time for a work session. As we move through next year, we are planning on spending a lot of time going out to communities, hopefully for teas and coffees, going into schools, talking about school funding, talking to them about what they see as issues that need to be addressed within our schools. And so we can bring information back to you during work sessions. We only have one board meeting scheduled in November and one scheduled in December. So those would be the 2 dates where we'll have time to gather information and present to the board and start to make decisions. So if that's okay with you, that would be canceling again the June 18th Board of Education meeting, keeping both in July, and canceling August 20th. August 20th, I also would like to be out in the new schools as they open for the first day, open houses. As I told you folks anyway, I would like that September meeting to be in one of the new schools, so we can move around if needed. Any questions?
I just remind you, November, it's kind of a little tight when you go to OSBA.
Very much.
I don't think anybody's going to turn me
And-
on. A summer night meeting.
If that's okay, then what we'll have Chris Langford send out a official notification, and that should cover it. It doesn't take an action, it's just our discussion tonight, and then we'll publish that those two meetings have been canceled. All right, that leads me to superintendent update. First of all, we've done a lot of research already on our graduations. Dustin has put together probably 10 different graduations that I have sent out to you. I am willing to forward it to anyone who wants to see them. What you have to do, and I was hoping all of you were able to open them, is when you click on the school that we copied and pasted from YouTube, you just forward the scroll forward to when they start announcing names, and you can listen and hear community, parent, student behavior. It was very interesting for all 11. However, we want what we want for our district. I fully understand that. We don't want to copy anybody else. But I think it was eye-opening to share those and what's going on in other places, because overall, I think our ceremonies themselves, the way they were presented, were spectacular. Did it get a little noisy, as we've all talked? for the announcing of the name. So we are going to form a committee not to change the ceremony itself, but to look at how do we help or assist with community behavior. Is it past graduates coming in? Is it underclassmen coming in? Because, as I said at our last meeting, it was very disappointing to have kids come across the stage and say, told them not to say anything, and the kids almost refused. So that committee will start in the fall. It will consist of some senior students from each high school, some parents, and we'll invite a board member or two, as long as we don't have more than two. And we'll gather some input and feedback, and we've already met Jack, Susan, Daryl, Dustin, and myself to brainstorm some ideas, all the way up to parking and what we can do with some of those things. So we'll start that in the fall because we want it to be fresh on everybody's mind as we move through the Secondly, big thanks to Corwin Township and Jeff Mills, and the Banning Road project has been approved, so we can now move forward with that. We are in a very tight time crunch. We need that Banning Road expansion to be done and in place by the time school starts. We're still in negotiations with CMHA, but the gate is coming in. It's working out. We're getting all that satisfied. So what will happen is our buses will leave New Struble, turn right, go through the gate, and out to Banning Road. Then we will have our car traffic turn left and go out Memory Lane and out that way. So to start the year, we will have a light at Banning. Is that Memory? On this street. And then we might also have one at the corner of Memory and the street that goes down. So that was good news. That was a big stepping stone for us. And thanks to Chris McKee and Pete Becker for getting that through. Last thing I want to talk about is seniors. So past practice for seniors has been, and if you go to ODE's website today, it will say seniors cannot be released no more than 3 days prior to graduation. So I'm sitting here talking to friends who have kids that go to look at them. I'm talking to friends, the superintendent who I know, friends up at Woodwoods, and I've talked to Harrison and their superintendent. And they tell me, we don't follow that 3-day rule. I said, well, tell me why you don't follow it. Because the state has now gone that hard. I said, yes, we're all aware of that. That's why we no longer have calamity days. In fact, we go so many more hours over. We go 23 more days than is required by the hourly law for our students. Seniors have to complete 1,150 hours. The bottom line is we are 13 days over what they have to attend. So starting next year, the seniors' last day will be May 10th. First thing it affects is AP testing. It doesn't matter what we did. When we released this year, we still had kids coming back to take AP testing. They're going to know that in advance. What it allows them to do is to come into an open campus, participate in the AP class, continue to prepare for the test. The last test next year will be around April 17th, or I'm sorry, May 17th or May 18th. Graduation for next year is set for May 20th and 21st at the same place. Northwest being on Monday night the 20th, and Colerain being on Tuesday night the 21st. Therefore, seniors' last day will be Friday, May 10th. It is all allowed, it's all legal, it is what other school districts are doing, and it finds us other opportunities to, one, work with those seniors who are struggling to get work completed. So now individual teachers can do tutoring for those last 10 days if they're not there for those kids who are in catch-up mode, finishing projects or doing what they do. So,
Do they have any trouble with them being out that long, getting them all back for graduation practice?
We'll have graduation practice that is mandatory in order to participate in graduation, and that takes care of it. It also allows some of them to get an early head start on jobs in the summer, which is very helpful also. And that's all I have.
At this time, is there anybody that has any questions regarding anything that was discussed at the meeting tonight?
I'm sorry I got here late, I didn't get the memo for 6:30. Board, thank you for just giving me a couple minutes. I wanted to talk about a couple things. One is the adjustments to the current administrative job descriptions that you mentioned. Who's doing those jobs now?
Right now, it's Daryl Chrisman Turney and Stephanie Kessler.
Because there's two different jobs we're talking about, right? So the just kind of shifting responsibility.
Shifting responsibility, no new position.
The other question I had is, are you thinking about what goals you want these people to achieve? I read the duties.
We have goal-setting meetings with every administrator in this office. They sit down with me, they give me goals in advance, and then we have data gathering at the end of the year to see what goals are.
Good. The other question I had in the Assistant Director of Recruitment, Diversity, and Employee Relations, I had a question on the diversity part, based on my experience in business. And what is the issue we're, you step back, what's the issue we're trying to resolve here? I know people got work to do, but what's the basic problem we're trying to solve with this change in these responsibilities?
It's not change in responsibilities, that is an addition because of our diversity committee that has met for a year. If you've watched board meetings or participated, you've seen several reports that have come out explaining that we need a more diversified staff so they're more representative of the students that they teach. So our goal is to hire more diversity in terms of staff that is relative to the makeup of our general population.
Yeah, I understand that. So this person is going to be responsible for that, or?
This person, in combination with Daryl, will put an extra emphasis on recruiting, changing the way we recruit. We've already changed the way we do things this year in our hiring process, so it will be a combination.
The one thing that I would say to complement that is that it doesn't make sense, is that my sense is the responsibility for making progress in the diversity area lies with the whole board and the whole administration, not the same person. So getting one person responsible to help with getting some data available so you can see it, that kind of stuff makes sense. But real progress will happen when the board and the administration makes the decision that they want to change the culture. Changing the culture. That's a top-down thing. So I always encourage you to do that. So I'm pleased that you give it more.
100% with you. We're on the same page. If you go back and you pull up some meetings, when the diversity committee did their presentation, every principal was here to show that they had buy-in. It will take training. It will take time to get everybody involved. Daryl and Stephanie have already started some things.
That person is the point person for the implementation of that diversity plan so that people know who they can go to for support, and they monitor that plan and are continuing to push and grow all of us. So it is a team effort, but that person owns the kind of the monitoring and implementation of data that goes along with that plan.
So I applaud you for doing something different. So we're just going to check back after you had it for about 6 months and see how it's working.
We hope to come back sooner than that. We hope to show results by August or September, and Daryl will give a full report at that time.
I want to congratulate you on the fact that you made some improvement on hand. You've been working with the township on this issue. I'm glad to see that that's hopefully behind us, and you move forward, because that was an important thing. A couple other things I would mention. I'm looking at the 5-year forecast, starting to do that, and it looks like in about 4 or 5 years we're, I don't know, $8 to $10 million short for what we need per year coming in. And my quick calculations around that is that if nothing changes, that's like a 18% tax increase, and that's a pretty big thing. And the township is currently dealing with similar kinds of things. The police budget's growing at 8% a year, and the revenue's growing at about 1%. Fire department is growing about 5% a year, and the revenue's a percent. So we've got those people over there. So there's going to be a lot of activity around people requesting additional funds. And so I'd ask that you give it a real hard look around whether that's really something that we need. And you ask yourself some big questions around what else we might do. And I know you keep working at it, but I just want to make sure that you do what I care about. I care about you guys too. That's why I'm here in the summer, I need to live. The last thing is, I did talk a little bit with about K-8 school, think, with the treasurer. And I think, Chris, I heard we were at 34 million or something, and we don't have all the money we want from the state.
We won't know that until we see final numbers per student, based off enrollments for it.
So,
And right now, just so you know, Colerain Elementary set at $950 last year. It's currently setting at $530. So we don't need the building we thought we needed. And we're still monitoring. And it's not only important to monitor for this year. I think a new school, you'll see a little spike with attendance. Then it tends to level off and go back to where you were over our 10-year, whatever they predict for us. I think what we're going to see is we can build a smaller building than what we thought from the beginning. It will not be near the 34 million, unless inflation.
sure, if you could break it down, that's helpful. Sure, you and I talked about that. The one question I had is, can we get into some of our permanent improvement funds? If we delay buying buses for a couple of years, we put that delay in, bring a couple million from that fund to help us out. Is that, first of all, can you do that? And then second, is it legal? Can we look at that permanent improvement fund as a source of funds maybe? Not a commitment, but just look at it.
First of all, the permanent improvement fund is very small. And when you're talking about aging buildings, replacing roofs, asphalt, etc., it's quite expensive. Plus deferring the purchase of buses to get us off of our bus replacement schedule.
Right, I understand.
Which that creates a huge problem.
Well, if we're taking through what the option, that's all I was trying to get at, Chris. I mean, it's about $3 million budget, right?
Hey, Rich, not to interrupt, but this, I just don't want to go off agenda, because then we'll get other people coming, because that wasn't discussed tonight, it was a.
Thank you. I see you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, at this time we'll move into board member comments.
It's a short meeting, it's a good meeting, but I'm really appreciative of the coaches and all the work they do for the district.
Yeah, same Joe said, congratulations to our athletes that were recognized tonight, and hopefully everybody had a great school year this year, and we'll be glad to get started on the new buildings in the fall.
I have a friend whose son graduated this year, and he has some social anxiety. So he didn't walk at Northern Kentucky because it was a little too much for him. And his teachers and the principal at Colerain High School, they threw a graduation for him at Colerain High School, which I thought was the most amazing thing I ever seen. Because the parents were really distraught, they didn't get a chance to walk, they thought he was going back. And so they did have to trick him to get him there. They said he had to go up and sign some paper for a diploma. And then they walked him into where they held him. And you can imagine there wasn't a dry eye in the room. And that makes me incredibly proud of this community that people would step up and do that and hang on and plan that for one person. For just one person. So.
Okay, just want to echo what everybody else said about the athletes, and congratulations to them and the coaches and the time that they put in. And everybody have a good summer.
I just want to go back to something that I can't believe I didn't mention at the last meeting. When we were talking about graduations, to me, the highlight of the graduations was the young lady from Northwest High School that, and I didn't get a heads up, so I didn't know, and they were pushing her in a wheelchair. And so then all of a sudden I realized she's trying to go up the steps. So I walked over to the steps not knowing that she was determined, since she was in kindergarten, that she was going to walk across that stage. And I'm going to tell you what, that one, it was hard to fight back the tears, but what made me so proud is that every one of her classmates gave her a standing ovation. And somehow in the midst of all the other discussion we had on graduation, we left out the most special part of all of it. And those kids had respect for her, and she accomplished something remarkable, and it was just amazing. So I apologize I didn't bring it up last time. I kicked myself all the way home in the car, because it just gave me goosebumps, and to see the reaction from the classmates just was a cherry on top. So with that, I believe.
I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session, or we'll approve a motion to move in executive session for the sale of property at competitive bidding because premature disclosure of information will give an unfair competitive bargaining advantage to the person whose personal private interest is in adverse to the general public interest. We consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Still moved and seconded. Any questions? Motion passes 5-0. We will return from executive session, but we will just be adjourning the meeting. So you're welcome to sit there, but nothing's going to happen when you get done. Everybody have a great night and enjoy this together.